are all looking for adventure. We are all looking for adventure.
Hey guys, welcome to the Marriage Adventure Podcast, where we believe marriage is a journey worth taking. And we're your hosts, Danielle and Bonnie Hoover.
Today we're tackling something fun and honestly something we all struggle with a little bit from time to time, and that's date nights, especially when the budget's tight or when life gets crazy.
Isn't life always crazy?
Yep.
And if we're being honest, there have been seasons where we stopped dating each other too.
Mm-hmm.
You're not the only ones, but not because we didn't care, but because life just swallowed us.
So if you're listening today and thinking date night, we don't have time for that. We don't have extra money for that. We just can't do that. Then you're not alone. We've been there too.
Yeah, but there's good news. Creative date nights don't have to be expensive. And so today we're going to talk through some ways that you and your spouse can reconnect and refresh the fun in marriage and do it without blowing your budget.
All right, so grab your cup of coffee and get comfy, and we're going to jump in.
All right. So, Bonnie, let's first talk about why date night matters. We hear about it. There's actually a really funny movie called Date Night.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Starring Steve Carell. And I think Tina Fey, is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
But why does date night matter? You hear about it when you read books, when you listen to podcasts like this one.
Yep. Man, because it's the thing that kind of keeps you connected. I mean, we started dating at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Date was kind of the date night thing. I remember when we were first married, we kind of laughed at the idea of a date night because it was just us and it felt like every night was a date night. We were like,
that was the first
date
13 years of our marriage before kids came along.
Exactly. And we're kind of like, why do we even need date night?
And we didn't have traditional jobs. We were on the road. So we were always together.
Yes.
So it was funny because people would say date night, date night, date night. And we're like,
whatever.
What is that?
Exactly.
You know? But it's then we got traditional jobs and we got kids, traditional kids, and life took over.
Like, whoa, okay, we better figure out this date night thing.
But it's funny because, by our bed, we all have this charging cord for our phone.
Yep.
And what we do is we get up and we use our phone all day, and that battery just depletes and depletes and depletes. And by the time we go to bed, it's about dead if it's not already dead.
Mm-hmm.
And we charge it in. And man, on the off chance that it didn't charge and I get up the next morning and that battery's dead, I'm like, Panicked. What do I do? I can't, And so, but why do we charge it all night? So that we'll have our phone the next day.
Yeah, we can use it and it won't die on us, and
That's
it'll
right.
keep going, and it's functional.
Yep.
So.
And that's exactly, I think, what happens to our marriage relationship is the battery gets drained
Over time, and we don't recharge it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so so there's a lot of a lot of similarities there. But I'll never forget a few years ago, we were driving down to Valdosta, Georgia. So we're in North Georgia. Valdosta is on the south end next to Florida. Mm-hmm. And we were getting ready to teach at this marriage workshop.
Oh,
and
that's right.
And I'm like, okay, I'm good. And this was during a really hard year for us. Yeah. And so I'll never forget, we got about halfway down there, and you looked at me in such frustration and almost just hurt, and you said, I feel like we're lying when we teach this.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean? And you were like, we talk about all this stuff to make their marriage stronger, dates and connection and all this stuff, and we're not connected. Mm-hmm. And I can't tell you the last time we went on a date night. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, I can't turn the car around. We're booked for this thing. What do we do between now and then?
It's like, you better figure it out, buddy.
I don't have time to fix it. Hey, there's a Cracker Barrel. Let's stop off for an hour and have a date. Yeah. But it was really convicting, and you were right.
Yeah.
You were right.
Well, and I think in any time we're talking about this date night, we do get in this rut of thinking, man, well, we can't just do this. We can't do this all the time. We don't have the money or the budget to do that. But I think intentionality is what matters even more than the frequency of it, because it's like we're intentionally connecting in each other. And I think what I remember thinking, now I think back to that, and I'm like, we've been so intentional about doing everything for the kids. We've been intentional about building this ministry even
For other marriages
for
to be
other
healthy
marriages.
and
And I'm
connected.
like, where's our health? I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, see me. Let's not just build something together. Let's look at each other in the process.
Yeah. And so why is date night important? To answer that initial question is I think it's just that. One, it speaks to your spouse and each other intentionality, and that we're important enough to put on the calendar and to plan something and to spend a little bit of money or a little bit of time or a little bit of effort, because intentionality, drift happens when you're not intentionally connecting and when it's not scheduled right. And so that's one reason date night matters. I think another reason date night matters, especially to a wife, is I think husbands, it reminds our wives that they're just not moms and homemakers and people in our lives to do the laundry.
We still want to be pursued.
Yeah.
We still want to be attractive and feel like that you see us and that you want us. And so that's why date night's important, that you still want to be with us as much as you want to be with the people that you work with during the day.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on your end of why date nights might be important?
Sometimes we just need a break from life and to be able to be focused on something that's not. And let me say this, we'll talk about this later, but the date night doesn't need to be, let's tackle, all the challenges we have in our world right now. It just needs to be this reminder of, I just need a break from my life so that we can have fun together and enjoy something together.
Fun. That's a big thing.
Yeah.
We take for granted how much fun aids in connection. And so I think that's really important, is infusing fun back into the marriage relationship. We all the time plan fun things for the kids.
Yeah.
But do we ever just plan fun things for the adults and then rub it in the kids' faces? Because that's really what you should do.
Yeah. So once we realized our battery was low, we had to find ways to be intentional again, and even in the middle of real life.
That's right. What if one simple habit could completely transform your marriage over this next year?
What if it didn't require a big budget, a babysitter every weekend, or a weekend getaway?
What if all it took was a few intentional hours together each week?
That's why we created the Marriage Adventure Challenge. 52 dates in 52 weeks.
It's simple, it's fun, and it brings you back to what brought you together in the first place: connection.
You'll get fresh, creative date ideas dropped right into your inbox. No planning, no stress.
You just show up, spend time together, and watch what God does in your marriage.
Whether your relationship feels strong or a little disconnected, this challenge will help you slow down and truly see each other again.
Ready to join couples all over the country, heck, all over the world, who's choosing connection on purpose? Well, take the Marriage Adventure Challenge. 52 dates in 52 weeks.
Just click the link below or go to themarriageadventure.com to sign up today and start your first date this week.
All right. Well, man, just like that commercial said, intentionality is the biggest thing. If you're going to do the Marriage Adventure Challenge, you got to be intentional. And so let's talk about this date night thing and how we can make it happen. So here's the first thing. You got to stop waiting for time. Because I think we typically say, well, when we have more time, we'll do that.
Yep.
You're never going to have time.
No.
Right? And so what you have to do is you have to make time.
Yeah.
And because most couples don't stop dating because they stop caring. That they stop dating for another reason. Why is that?
Well, we just we have all these other things that we let creep in and take precedent. In fact, you looked at me a week ago and said, okay, when can we get you away? When can we do something? I'm like, I have no idea. And I didn't even, at that point, I was so overwhelmed with everything going on, I didn't even try to stop and look at my calendar. I just couldn't.
Well, I'm going to be honest. I wrote this outline, and I didn't want you to come back and say, we haven't been away in forever.
Right.
So it made me feel a little convicted.
Yeah.
But, yeah, most couples don't stop caring. They stop planning.
Yeah.
And they don't, let me say this, they don't stop planning. Let me back up. They stop planning time for each other.
Right.
You're constantly planning, right? You're constantly calendaring things. You're constantly scheduling things. I mean, Colby has workouts. He has baseball practice. He has basketball practice, now overlapping, right?
Yeah.
Both of those two. Josie has her stuff. There's always stuff you're planning,
Mm-hmm.
but so don't wait to make time for it.
Yeah, we can't say we're not. We just don't have time to plan because we are scheduling stuff. So
I had a couple in here last week for an intensive, and we were talking about this reconnecting through time together, and so it was coming up on lunch, and I said, okay, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna set out your lunch for you, and then I want y'all to take the next hour as you eat lunch, and I want you to grab your calendars, and I want you to go through this next year. And I want you to put date nights on the calendar. I want you to put quarterly night aways on the calendar. I want you to, here's the marker for the whiteboard. You can start planning.
yeah,
And they did. And they put all that stuff on the calendar. And I urged them. I said, do not move and shift that. Move other stuff around that.
that's a great idea.
And so, yeah,
Yep.
we should do that.
Yes.
We have done. We have done that.
Yeah, and the other thing is,
We'll get to this in a later how we've done that.
but sometimes we feel like, okay, we got to have a whole night or a whole night overnight or something like that, but we don't really even need a whole night to do this. Sometimes even just 1 hour counts.
Yes.
I mean, just
Yep.
find a time to carve out. You can call it date night, just as long as you've carved out some time that it's just the two of you intentionally.
That's right. And Jesus modeled this in Scripture. I mean, he didn't have a wife and he didn't model date night, but he did model intentional time away
Mm-hmm.
and the worth that it has. I mean, we constantly see throughout the Gospels where Jesus pulled away from the crowds or he pulled away from the disciples intentionally to spend time with his Father.
Yeah.
To be filled back up and to only because he only did what the Father did.
Mm-hmm.
And so to know what the Father's doing, you got to pull back and spend intentional time with the Father as Jesus did. And I think the same is true in our marriage relationship, just like it is in our spiritual relationship,
Yeah.
where we want to spend intentional time with the Father in our quiet time or in abiding and walking with Jesus. We want to also plan to spend intentional time with our spouse to get on the same page relationally, or like we said earlier, to have fun. Or maybe it is to talk about some family issue. Don't make that the main thing every week.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, you might have to do that, right?
Yeah,
to get on
absolutely.
the same page.
The whole point is connecting.
Yeah. So what's a good way of finding what's a good way to schedule it, Bonnie?
Well, sometimes it's looking at the calendar and saying, I know there have been times that we've sent each other like a calendar request of just saying, okay, let's put this on the calendar. But then there are other times we just have to look for those natural openings and take advantage of that, because the problem is we do have some of those openings, but too often we just sit and doom scroll or watch TV or whatever. And truly our kids are at the age that we don't have to spend every night sitting down in the living room doing something with them. We can say, hey, kids, we're going to go do something by ourselves.
Yeah.
They're old enough to leave at home for an hour. Or
And they want to leave the home for an hour.
they leave us when they want to go do their stuff.
Heck yeah, man.
So we need to look for those natural openings. Like, well, for us, one of those things that we've started doing, and I think we've shared this recently, but our kids are they go to church on Wednesday nights. Their youth group meets on Wednesday nights. And so we've started making that kind of our date night.
Yeah.
And there might be the occasional time they're doing something special that they want us to come see at the church if they're leading or something like that. But if we do that, we can maybe see them for a little bit and then go out to dinner. But we make that our time.
Yeah. Find those natural openings when you're just really wasting time.
Yeah.
And fill that with time together. So that's really good.
Well, here's the second thing that you need to think about when you're considering it. When we're saying you have to have a date night or you need a date night, connection really doesn't require money.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't have to. Let's address first. What do you do when you got littles? When you got little kids, and because the government frowns on you leaving them at home for extended periods of time by themselves.
Yes. Well, and I know we were much more disciplined about date night when they were little for a couple of reasons. One, I needed adult conversation because I was home with the kids all day. So I was craving that, and you saw that, and we were very intentional about it, and I was like, I got to have this.
Yeah.
So I pressed into that more when they were little because they also didn't have their own worlds. They were stuck at home.
Yeah.
And we could leave them there if we had a sitter, but we saw very quickly that got expensive. So we feel you. We understand if you got littles, this gets expensive.
Yeah. So if you're listening and you're an empty nester, then you can do a wonderful thing for a young couple or a couple with young kids
Yes.
by offering a free date night every so often. Or we had a couple that offered that to us when our kids were
Yes.
little. They said that they were just turning that favor back around because a couple did it for them when their kids were little. And so every Friday night for about 4 or 5 years,
Yes.
they kept our kids and allowed us. It was maybe an hour or two and allowed us to have a date night. And man, it was so wonderful. And guess what? When we're empty nesters, we're going to have to do it because we're going to feel guilty and obligated.
Well, and some if
and
you're
we want to invest in a young couple.
yeah, and some of you, if you're empty nesters, you might be already doing this for your grown children,
Yeah.
and that's great. Giving them a night out without having to pay for a babysitter
Yep.
is huge.
Yeah, this couple didn't have grandkids at the time.
That's
so
right. So
they
maybe
adopted ours.
that's right. If maybe your kids don't live in town, they don't live anywhere
Mm-hmm.
nearby. Become that surrogate grandparent, and the relationship that our kids built with that couple was phenomenal.
It really
And
was.
it was a special thing because our parents lived farther away, and so
Yep.
it allowed them, our kids, to have those in-town grandparents, and you can become that for somebody.
Yeah.
Or
So if you're a couple with young kids and you got in-town parents and grandparents,
maybe approach them about that.
that'd be great. Yep.
And if you don't, maybe find that mentor couple you have in your church
Mhm.
that you can approach and say, hey, would you be willing to keep our kids for us once a month on a Friday night?
Yep.
Start there.
Yeah, if you're involved in a church and active in a church, I wouldn't hesitate.
Mhm.
Find that couple that's empty nesters and just say, "Hey, I want you to pray about something." Right?
Mhm.
Don't go to somebody you don't know. Maybe somebody that you know and you trust,
Sure.
and ask that question: would you be willing to keep our kids twice a month, and then or once a month, and allow for a date night? Or maybe if you don't have that, you have another couple that's your age, and they got kids your age, and maybe you swap on and off. So you
Yeah.
keep their kids 1 week, they keep your kids 1 week. So those
That's
are
a
just
great
some good
idea.
ways to handle
Childcare.
childcare.
Yeah.
And so,
Because
when-
I'll say that tends to be the biggest roadblock for couples that have young kids is being able to figure out the childcare piece because it is so expensive.
yeah, yep. So, so I think that to look at it cheaper or free or $20 around type dates is really important. And then maybe once or twice a year you can do a big splurge date. I know at Christmas we used to do a big splurge date where we get an Airbnb or we go to a show or something like that. Not like a movie show, but like a show, a stage Christmas show or something. And that was fun. But I think if you do sign up for the Marriage Adventure Challenge, there you'll get a free PDF in your inbox with over 100 ideas, and a lot of those are free or cheap ideas that you can do.
Yeah. Well, and that comes back to the whole idea that it doesn't have to cost a lot, but creativity kind of trumps the expense of something. If we can
Yeah.
just be creative, and because you get tired of doing the same stuff, dinner, a movie,
Yep.
that's kind of the go-to, or what can we do? You kind of run out of ideas, and everything does cost so much. But
It does.
creativity is kind of that
And
counts.
sometimes it might reflect the season of life or the mood you're in, right? For the past month, you've been stressed and you've been tired. And I
Yeah.
remember last Wednesday, I was going to plan something for us to go.
Mhm.
And then you were like, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm exhausted. Can we just do a charcuterie board and sit in the bed and watch a 90s rom-com?
Yeah.
And that's what we did.
It was great. It was exactly what I needed. It was kind of okay. That's what we needed
Yep.
that night, and so lean into that. But that can't be that way every week. I was thinking about that. I was like, okay, we got to at some point. I'm gonna have to get myself out of the bed.
Well, I mean, you can connect in the backyard, you
Yeah.
know, just as much as you can in a restaurant or something like that. The point of it is connection and intentional time.
Yeah.
So that's good. Here's another thing is we talked about injecting fun into your relationship, and that's what date night can do. So be playful, not perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
Release the pressure of doing something big and all that and elaborate and all that, and embrace fun.
Yeah.
What does fun do for a relationship?
It's funny because Josie just did a paper on laughter and how that relieves stress and how laughter brings all these things into your life. Like it helps you physically. And I think there's so much, it does release like that dopamine in your brain, and it bonds you together that when you have fun and just laughing and doing something silly, it creates a memory. We were talking not too long ago. I remember our first year of marriage. We lived in that little apartment in our college town. And one night we got to talking about something and got tickled just lying in bed, and we laughed, and we were, and then at that point you're delirious, you're tired, but I still remember that.
And it's not funny now what we were talking
No,
about, but it was then.
It
was so funny.
Yep.
Yeah, and so laughter, it breaks down walls. Laughter creates those memories, and those you two type moments like, oh, we remember that. We did that together. And so I think that's so important and so important. And it connects. It's that dopamine bonding, because when you laugh and those fun memories, it creates this dopamine release and serotonin release, which is the cuddle drug. Yeah. And it bonds you together in that way. And so those are the things that you always remember. And so if you can, avoid those heavy conversations. Every once in a while you're going to have to do something.
Well, and there are those times that you do want that heart connection, and maybe you haven't had a serious conversation in a while, and you do want some of that at times, but you do need to not make every date night about, strategy for how to, divide and conquer with the kids.
Yeah. So I, on my coaching video, I held up this game, but I'll tell you about it here. And so in our cabin, we Airbnb our cabin when we don't have ministry couples there. And in the cabin, we have a little cabinet. And so in the cabinet, we've got some games. And we've got puzzles, we got Jenga, we've got, Yahtzee or whatever. But we have these a couple little games that are just couples question and answer games. And every couple that stays in that cabin, especially for intensives, I encourage them to play that game, but Airbnb couples do too. And it is so funny. They ask questions, and it's stuff you think you should know about your spouse, but maybe you don't, or trivia questions. And man, it's just so much fun. And I was hearing such good reports back from that game. It's in a little red box, and they're like, yeah, we played the game in the red box. And so we went down and stayed in the cabin one weekend, and we played that game.
Yeah, it was
fun.
And
it was so much fun. So go on Amazon or Walmart or wherever and buy one of those little games, couples games, card games, and they're so funny. Right.
Well, and another idea is maybe have a date night jar idea.
Yeah.
And that can be something that you can sit down and write you can take things off of the Marriage Adventure Challenge guide and put those in strips and put them in there, and you pull one out and say, hey, let's do this. Or you can each contribute a bunch of ideas to the jar, and then pull one out when you're bored and say, let's do this tonight, and say whatever we pull out is what we have to do, unless you both look at it and go, we're not doing that.
Veto.
Right.
But Proverbs 17:22 tells us that a cheerful heart is good medicine. And so that's probably what your marriage needs, is just some good medicine.
Yep.
Right. And that's what having fun is. So.
Well, and here's another thing, you want to have fun and all that, but you need to figure out a way to protect the rhythm. Just one date can make a difference, but getting into this rhythm of, we need to hold something sacred. We need to do this like every week if we possibly can, or no matter what, once a month we're going out and doing this. The first whatever, you put it on the calendar, and that can transform your marriage by having that consistency where I'm saying I am putting you first, come hell or high water, as Grandmama used to say, and it's going to be,
Not sure what that means. Hell or high water. Anyway, I'll think about that after.
But we're going to hold this sacred because it's telling you you're my priority. Yeah.
And that builds this emotional, spiritual connection, which almost creates this little addiction to date night. Like, I don't want to miss it. Right. It's something. And that's another important thing. When you protect that rhythm, it gives you something gives you something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Because life's busy, life's stressful, life is exhausting. And so to have that something on the calendar just that's going to allow you to breathe and have some fun and connect, it gives you that rhythm gives you something to look forward to.
And I think recharging together is a way that we can honor the covenant we made to each other.
Yeah.
Of saying, okay, I'm putting above all else, I am choosing you. over my friends, my family, my kids, my job. I'm forsaking all others and cleaving to you. It's a way that we honor each other in that by saying, I am just going to hold this one day sacred for us to do something together and invest in each other.
That's right, because healthy marriages are built one intentional date at a time.
Yep.
Over time. So, well, that's great. Well, if you're listening today and thinking we need help keeping this going, then remember, we've got something we created just for you.
And we mentioned it earlier, but it's called the Marriage Adventure Challenge, and it's 52 dates in 52 weeks. And I know that seems like a lot, but
But think about it. If you only do half of that,
that's better.
that's still way more than you probably did last year.
That's right.
So let it be a stretch goal. Shoot for the stars. And if you can't do 52 dates in 52 weeks, do 52 dates in 100 weeks, 104 weeks, and that'll still be great. It's completely free. It's a downloadable guide. It's filled with creative, faith-centered ideas for every budget. We have ones for small budget and one for big budget. And so one idea each week will help you build that consistency and that connection. And so you can grab that at themarriageadventure.com, or we have a link below in this podcast. So just sign up and we'll send it right to your inbox.
Yep. And check out our episode if you get a chance. That's called 5 Small Gestures That Keep Romance Strong. It's packed with simple, everyday ways to keep the spark alive.
Yeah, that's a good one. Check that out. So we'll see you next time on the Marriage Adventure Podcast. And it's where we believe marriage is a journey. And remember, it's worth taking. So we're glad to be on that journey with you.
We are all